Yeah, so this is the 2021 specialized status.
I think that I'm going to hiding somewhere by a gated star.
This is the 140mm model, and there's also a 160mm version as well. I actually borrowed this bike just so my brother's son, Wilmer, 13 years old, could try it out here in the bike park. And he really liked the bike a lot, I can tell you. And since I had it here, I thought I'll just make a review of it. So we took this bike out on an enduro trail used in the Swedish Cup, and we also took it on a flowy trail. We also took it on some cross country. And we also took the bike to a jump line as well. Perhaps there is where this bike belongs. Now, before I took this bike out on a ride, I didn't know anything about it. I haven't studied the bike at all. I just took it out and went for a test drive. So that's one way to do it.
We accidentally ended up on a trail that was used this weekend for the Swedish Enduro Cup. That was a good first test for the status. This is the 140mm version, and I don't know if that version is aimed for enduro trails, even if it's built to take a beating and has got progressive geometry. I think the focus with this version is more on flowy trails and jump lines where pop is more important than finding grip in rough terrain.
I can immediately tell that this bike has got a very slack head angle, and it's got a very short chainstay as well, so this bike is made for jumping and playing. I don't think this bike will do very well on cross-country roads. It's not very pedal efficient, but on trails and jump lines, this is probably what this bike is made for. The bikes jump very well, it's got a lot of pop, and it's easy to clear all obstacles, and it's also quite forgiving as well because of that slack head angle. It's not easy to go over the bars on this bike. And I don't have any problems with the suspension either. It's got a 36 Fox 36 rhythm, which is stiff enough for what this bike is intended to do. And in the rear, that shock and that shock linkage looks pretty beefy actually compared to other specialized bikes.
It took some time to get used to that short chainstay and slack head angle, but once getting used to that, it's actually pretty snappy around bends despite its length. For some reason, the specialized status attracted a lot of attention in the bike park. We also had a brand new, beautiful red Turbo Levo SL, which almost cost 3 times as much as the status. But the star in the bike park, if we count the number of comments from other bikers, was definitely the status. It seems to be a sought after bike, and we don't blame them. We put the status in size large, or S4 as it's called, next to the Turbo Levo SL in size extra large, and we were surprised to see how long the status really is. The eye gets tricked by that short chainstay and the 27-inch rear wheel. Yes, it is a mullet setup. The front wheel is 29-inch, but both wheels have the same width at 2.3 inches. Here are 3 annoying things with the Status 140. For jumping about, the Butcher Grip trail tires are good enough, but on slippery routes and muddy berms when you're pushing a bit, they fall short. The Maxis Assegai or Aggressor that we are more used to have a lot more grip in corners and when braking. The bike is barely built to take a beating, and that of course affects the weight of the bike. It seems to be built with trail parks in mind, which may limit its usability if you sometimes go out on longer cross-country rides. There is some pedal bob when climbing those steeper sections. Nothing alarming, and luckily it's very easy to reach and quickly lock the rear suspension. Here are 3 good things with the Status 140. Love the playful nature of this bike. It's spec'd really well in all areas, and it's only the tires and your own skill that set the limit for what you can do on this bike. It's easy to lift the front wheel and do all the tricks you ever dreamt of doing. The SRAM Code R brakes perform really well all day, even in the wet. Okay, this bike is new and all components worked as they should. But the SRAM NX drivetrain is now probably my new favorite.
So there's not much not to like on this bike. It's pretty heavy, I guess, but that's expected. It's built to take some beatings, so maybe it's not as efficient on a cross-country trail perhaps. But apart from that, it's a really fun bike. And my brother's son Wilmer, he's got a wish list for Christmas already in place.
We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain.